Hi, Gator is with the Majestic Rider, so hopefully feels a little windy, and I put the other mic on because you can hear me better, but it also picks up the wind. So hopefully you can hear me here with Flyboy. Come on. And we already did our lunging, our warm-up over the poles, and now we're working on his flat walk and trying to get that faster. So I'm going to start out over the poles, and then we'll go around them. But at least now I have a clean trail walk, which is his slow walk is relaxed and his legs are separated. So he's doing much, much better. When he started, if you watch his first video, you'll see that he was kept changing and pacing and doing all sorts of stuff just at his slow walk. So we're having a couple issues with the camera, so we'll see how it goes. So our arena is very muddy today, and so that makes a difference in the footing, and we'll just see how it goes. So what I'm trying to do is get him to walk just faster. That's going to be his flat walk, but not too fast, because then he's going to try to change his footfall. Waiting for the wind to die down, so it'll change his football and he might start doing a different gait. So I'm just trying to get him to relax, reach out with his legs, separate his legs, and then slowly get faster. So let's go around the poles. So when it's muddy out, deep footing, all of those things are good, and those are going to help with your horse not being so pacey. But if they're severely pacey, again, I start with their trail walk, get that good first, and then I slowly start going towards their flat walk. So I spent a couple weeks just walking slow to make sure he kept his legs separated. Now we have them throwing junk out on the left, and so you just want to be aware of those things. Sit back. They could do something to spook them, so I got to be ready for it just in case. Now, other things I've done with him, I no longer let him stop to go to the bathroom. And you'll see I'm carrying a stick because I need him to go a little faster. And that stick helps me to get a little bit more speed without too much speed. Sometimes when you put your leg on, they speed up too much. So if I need just a little bit more, then I'll wave that stick a little bit or give him a little tap. Now, I changed the bit, and you'll see at times he's playing with it, but it's not as much as he was playing with that snaffle. So I think he's better in this bit, so you can compare the two. And I think he's doing quite well. He is getting faster. The things he does now is occasionally he plays with the bit. When he plays with the bit, he kind of bunches his body up, and that's when he'll start to go to step pacing. So right here is a pretty good flat walk for him. You should feel a back and forth motion. There he got too fast. Their head should be going up and down, and then you should feel their legs moving underneath you. That takes some time to get the feel of their legs. But when you really get in tune with the horse, it feels like you're walking. Not that they're walking, but that they are your legs. So just keep feeling their legs moving back and forth. Again, if you can't, a bareback pad works well, but be safe when you do it. Use one with stirrups. You know, if you've never ridden bareback before or have someone else do it first, make sure your horse is okay with that. So see how much better he is, but it's only because I went back. I didn't. I didn't go forward. I didn't try to get this horse to do his saddle gait. He's playing around. He always does it right as we're coming towards the gate. Wonder why, right? Because it's usually that they want to go back to his stall, which is right by my shed. So you don't want to go for too much speed in the beginning. A lot of people do, and they do, You know, they call it a flat walk, but at that point in time, that's actually the horse's running walk. So the fastest they can go, that's not a pace or a trot, and it's a walk, that's going to be your running walk. So stay under that speed. And then for their flat walk, it needs to be slower than that. So your flat walk's just going to be a little faster than your trail walk in the beginning, and then over time, they'll build strength, you'll get more speed, and then what was your flat walk can be your trail walk, and what was your running walk can then become your flat walk, and then you'll have another speed for your real running walk, okay? But it takes time to get those things, and if you rush for speed, many times the horse will just start step pacing, because that's what many people do on the trail, and so that's what the horse learned, and it's pretty easy for them. It's just not best for their body in the long run, okay? But he's doing really well. Now here he's slowing down, so I gave him a couple little taps with my stick. He's probably going to the bathroom. I can feel him kind of raise up. So you'll see I'm just annoying him the whole time so he doesn't stop. The worst thing is getting that gait and having them stop to go to the bathroom, and then they pace after that. So you want to keep going. You got them all warmed up, so you don't want to have them stop to go to the bathroom. They can walk and do it. And the other thing you should notice if you watched his other video is he used to, when he went to the bathroom and I made him go forward, he used to pace. He used to pace and poop. And now he's actually doing his flat walk and pooping. So much, much better. So every time he looks off at those guys, I just squeeze and relax on my inside rein to tell him, hey, don't look over there. Pay attention to me. You're in class right now. So he's got to keep his attention on what we're doing. Because if they don't, they'll keep changing their gait, they'll keep looking around, they'll start around, they'll start tripping and doing all sorts of stuff. So keep their attention on you. Pretend this is your classroom, okay? And remember, your teacher wouldn't let you look out the window because you spaced out and then you didn't get anything done. There he just sped up, so I just held him. Now, he knows all my cues. Once the owner starts riding him, it'll be different because she's going to do it different than me, and her feel and timing will be different, so she probably won't catch him as fast. So what we're trying to do is teach him, though, that if he starts changing his speed, and I didn't ask him, that then there's pressure in his mouth right after that, and they want relief of pressure. So once they understand what it means, they're just like, oh, I'll just stay under that speed, because every time I go faster, she pulls on me, and I don't like that, and apparently she doesn't like that. Okay, so we're almost at 5 minutes. Now, he's doing pretty good, and we're going to go more. In other words, I'm going to keep going around longer than 5 minutes. And then if he starts getting more towards the pace or starts changing his footfall a lot, I know that's too much and I should stop and give him a break. But right now, this is really good compared to just a week ago. Very good. That's the nice thing about horses that are young, is they don't have years of that pacing. And so it's easier to correct. But if you take a 15-year-old horse that's been pacing, that's much different. So again, don't rush for the speed, because he gives me speed here and there, but if I let him do it, he's just going to go back into that step pace. So I have to keep him under that speed and just keep working the walk. I like to alternate my legs, so I push one leg and then the other. That helps them lengthen their stride. And it also helps them to get that inside hind leg up underneath him, which is going to help with him engaging himself and carrying himself. But we're not so worried about that at this point in time. I'm just explaining what I'm doing. So right up in here by those poles, it's very muddy. So his gait might look different there from going through it. So his head carriage is good, except every time he gets right here. So if your horse does something in one spot all the time, it's usually because they're focused on something else, and I know what he's focused on. He's like, stall, get me out of here, let me go back to eating my breakfast. That was his stifles, and they just gave out, and that's no big deal. Happens a lot in the arena, happens a lot with growing horses. They're not locking up, and it's not happening all the time. So that's how I know not to worry so much. If it was every 2 steps, I'd be like, uh-oh, we better get the vet to help us get through this, because they might need an injection or something. But he's quite good. Okay. Now, his right side wasn't as good as his left. He didn't bend as well this way, and that's the case with a lot of horses. The left is more or better than the right. Here he's bunched up. So I'm trying to get his head up gently and just stay relaxed. Because if you take a hold or I start jerking with him too much, he's going to change his football. Oh, did you see that? He got picked up some speed, but then he started going towards that step pace. So he's trying to go faster. I'm not asking him for speed, but I have to keep him going the same speed and keep telling him, no, don't do that. So you got a lot of problems with the gaited horses. People just let them go faster and faster because it's fun, and then the horse starts pacing and not holding the same speed, or they start trotting. So you use your half halts, which I have a video on. Just search half halts. And you just squeeze and relax on the reins. That's just like tapping the brakes to get them to go the same speed. Now, every time I get to that gate, you'll see he plays around and he bunches up, but then he comes back. Now here, that's the first time that he really went out of gate. And look at his back up. He's like, I'm not backing up for you. I'm like, yeah, you are. So don't rest. Immediately go forward. And then slowly speed back up. If you gun them with your leg, a lot of times they'll just go back up into that step pace. So with gaited horses, you have to learn to give your leg in increments, to slowly add more and more leg to get the response you want. But if you ask too much, or your horse is very sensitive, and you're asking with too much leg, you know, with sensitive horses, you might have to just use your brain first, because you override them, and then it's too much pressure for those horses. So you want to start with light leg and add more and more until you get the response. And that's it with a lot of things with horses on the ground. To keep them out of your space, you start light and then you add more and more. If they're not listening, then you might have to do it with a lot of pressure in the beginning, riding or on the ground, until they get the idea. And then you want to go back to the lightest touch to make the horse do what you're asking them to do. Once horses figure stuff out, they're very willing to do it. You don't need to yank on them. You don't need to kick them. You just got to use the right amount of pressure. We got 1 more minute. So here I'm going to go over the pole this time. So you try different things, like he gets bunched up there every time. There he got faster. That was better, though. He didn't play around as much. He got a little crooked, but not bad. So if you watch him, you'll see when he puts his head down, he lengthens his stride and he gets a better gait. Versus he gets bunched up, which a lot of people like the frame of the horse, but for him it's not good because it makes him pacey. So right now he's got to stay more in a neutral body position with his head kind of just a little higher than the front of my saddle pad, or kind of level with the front of my saddle. So I want to change directions, but I will not do it if they change their gait or they're not gaiting well. You always want to reward the try. This is really good flat walk right there. So we're going to stop, and now I'm going to turn. So let's do a turn on the haunches. So your turn on the haunches is when the back feet stay still, the front feet walk around, and this is also a movement to help you counteract the spin. When you go to do it towards the inside of the arena when you're teaching them. You're going to open your right rein, or your inside rein, not yet, buddy, and then your left rein's going to press against their neck like a neck rein, but don't cross it over. Your right leg just keeps that hindquarter staying there, so it's kind of as a guide and a blocker, and your left leg, which is right at the girth, is going to push the horse over. So you sit back, you have to use your eyes, and then you have to keep your hands even like this. If you pull on the one rein, that will make their hindquarter move. You're disengaging the hindquarter. So if you're not good with your hands, hold your stick like this, and that will help prevent your hands from coming back. Okay? So you're going to look, you're going to push with your leg. Now I'm pulling back a little bit because it felt like he was going to walk forward. Now I'm going to stop, so pause in the middle, and then keep pushing with your left leg. The turn on the haunches is a great movement. It can block a spin, so if your horse goes to spin, you can push a turn on the haunches the other way. It's the start of a rollback, which is back up in a turn, and I have a video on that. And it teaches your horse to rock back on its back end. And it's very helpful for trail, not only to teach them to go around S-turns well, or you have a very sharp turn, but it teaches them how to move their shoulders. So you can get around turns, you can do all sorts of things. But when a horse spins, they move their shoulders, and if you learn how to block their shoulders, you can block a spin when you get good enough. Okay. So we stopped to talk, and so it's going to take me a minute to get him back to flat walking. So right now he's at a slow trail walk. I'm going to keep my stick with him in my right hand because that's his worst side, just to give him support over there if I need to. Otherwise, I usually always carry the stick in the inside hand, the left hand. But when the horse has a problem, then sometimes I'll carry the stick on that side to give him more support. So he's bunching up a little bit as I'm picking up speed, and in this direction right here, it goes downhill, it's towards the gate, and the footing's not so good. So between those two poles is like the worst footing, and that's where we're going to have problems when we're not using the poles. So everybody's arena is different, but you got to know your spots, and if you have one spot that has a big problem, just stick a pole there to help you if it's a pacey horse. Trotty horses, it's good to walk them over poles to build up their stifles and backs, but they don't need poles to gait. That will make them trottier. So don't use the poles as you go faster or if your horse keeps breaking into a trot. So he's still bunched up. I can feel it. That's a little bit better, and you'll see his walk is faster. Always sit back when you go to the poles and look at the next pole. Don't look down. You want to think of leaning back so in case they trip. Anytime you feel them kind of surge forward, you half halt on them. So you got to get good with your timing, because if you half halt too late, they'll get too many steps in and they won't know it's not what you want. That's a good flat walk right there. Good boy. Good job. Job. So again, see, he'll get excited and be like, oh, good job, I'll go faster for you, because he's trying harder, and you're like, no, that's good enough, thank you. So don't let them go any faster. Even if it's fun, don't do it, because it's more fun to get all the gaits and do them when you want to do them and do them well. Because again, if you just let them do what they want, they'll think it's right, and then they get confused. So you'll see my hands are staying wide with him because he's a baby. So when he's going crooked, I'm not pulling back on him unless he's going the wrong speed. All I'm doing is correcting and using an open, which is also called a leading rein, in case you hear that, go boy, that's a good walk, to get him where I want him to go. But if I start pulling back, he might either tuck his head in more, which will get him more pacey, or he might change his speed. So I'm just going to pull out and then use my half halts when he's not doing the right speed. So this flat walk is very important in getting the rest of their gaits. Most people don't spend enough time on it, but that's when they call working the walk. That's how you get a really nice gait with your horse. So you develop them, build up their muscles so that they can do the next gait, and then when you go to the next gait, sure, I know he's going to go pacey when I go to the next gate, but it's not going to be as bad. And then it'll take me a couple of weeks or so, and then we should have that gait getting better. Now, some of this stuff's for the owner, so I don't forget to tell her. So do you see he's grabbing the bit once in a while? That's because that shank lot of horses like to stick that in their mouth, and sometimes they even get it stuck on their teeth. So if you have a horse that's constantly grabbing for the shank, waiting for the wind to die down, those bits that look kind of like an S, take the shank away from the horse's mouth and put it back further so they can't get it in their mouth. So you want something with one of those curved part of the shank that looks like an S. Okay, I want to show you what I was talking about with getting the bit away from the horse's mouth when they try to chew on the shank. So an S curve like this. Some of them have even bigger S curves. So depending on your horse, helps you figure out how far back it should be from his mouth. So if you ever wondered why these bits look like that, that's what it's for. Besides, this one's pretty. It's got all the studs on it, but that gets it away from the horse's mouth. This is good flat walk, but he keeps giving me too much. He keeps going and then speeding up too much. So, but this is what will happen with your horse. You're going to get these things where you're like, oh, that was so good, that was so fast. And it will only happen here and there, but if you do it correctly, you'll get more and more of that over time. See there, he surged forward and I half halted. He's still surging forward, yep. And this is normal. He's just trying, like, how do I get out of this work? What do I have to do? So, that's very good flat walk. That's almost towards his saddle gait, so I don't want to go any faster. But you have to get everything consistent and really make sure the horse understands. So now that I can do this flat walk well, this is the question everybody's asking. When are you going to saddle gate? When are you going to saddle gate? Why are you going to do that today? Do it today because he's got his flat walk. Let's just go. No, you got to make sure the horse really understands. So this whole week, we're just staying on his flat walk, even though this is quite good, and I might be able to get a saddle gate. He's already been confused in his life a fair amount. He doesn't need anybody else to confuse him. So we want to make sure here he's getting bunched up. So I'm going towards the pole. Sit back. Again, sometimes as they get tired, they'll step and do goofy things over those poles. So you got to keep your upper body back. So you want to get that flat walk really good and get it faster before you start going for the next speed. No stopping to go to the bathroom. Now I'm going to drop the reins for a minute because I'm going to look at the time. Okay. So we got a couple more minutes to go. So he slowed down, and you saw he immediately veered off to the right. Now we're back at our flat walk, so this is good. Now if my reins got too long, right now they're okay. They're a little bit on the longer side, but if they were really long, I wouldn't be able to half halt, support him, and to keep him going this same speed. So you always have to keep your reins short enough to help you, and then once they get better, he's grabbing the bit there. Now he's not bending. Once they get better, then what was I saying? I don't know. Once he can consistently hold the gait, then we can start going faster. Now, I know he's getting tired because he was doing well, and look at the things he's doing now. So he's getting distracted. He looked out at that horse. He bunched up. So this is the first time we had to back up, going this direction. And this is the spot that they always have problems. Remember I said in between those two poles. So that's telling me that 10 minutes is good for the flat walking, at least in here. So what I want to do, that's good, is just get him walking pretty well, and then I'm going to stop and do another turn on the haunches, okay? So again, he's changing because he's getting tired. He's a young horse, and it takes muscles to gait. It doesn't take that many muscles to pace, okay? So when you're trying to get them to gait, don't expect miracles. Oh boy. Because it takes time, and they have to build up the muscles to get the gait. So that was really good right there. So we're going to stop, and we're going to And we're going to do our turn on the haunches. Go boy. Go boy. Now at some point I'll start his canter that will actually help his gait, but it's pretty mucky in here. And I don't want to canter him, and his first time cantering with a person, he slips and scares himself. So you have to make decisions like that. Like, should I do it today? Should I not do it today? No, today's not a good day to do that. Because, again, it could lose his confidence. So we're going to do a couple of other things. Oh, see, he's got the bit in his mouth. So I'm going to come in and we're going to try, I can't remember if he knows how to side pass. Sometimes I get the horses confused. So I'm going to try to side pass to make sure he knows that as well. They did a good job putting a foundation on this horse. He has all the basics. He just got them all confused together. And sometimes they do that if you teach them too much too fast. Okay. So he did pretty well. Gaited horses a lot of times will move their body like in two pieces. So you're always trying to keep the front end and the back end lined up, and a stick will help a lot with that if the back end is kind of dragging behind. But he does that pretty well. So now let's do the other way. Now this way nothing's happening. So I just tapped him with my stick, and now I'm going to stop and reward him. So when you're teaching them gait, things to do, you apply pressure to ask them, and then when they do the right thing, you take the pressure away. And then they learn, if I do that thing, she stops pushing on me. So let me tell you about the side pass. I usually make sure they have the turn on the forehand and the turn on the haunches first. And then I kind of put it all together. So what I'm going to do is open my right rein, because I want to go that way, take my right leg off to open the door. So you open the door this way. Left rein will be against his neck. I don't pull back unless they're going forward, and then I apply my left leg behind the girth, and I take it on and off, which some people cannot do because your timing's not fast enough. But when he does the right thing, like I'm pushing him over, then I take the leg off for a second, then I put it back on. And you keep your eyes up, and then I take the leg off. Now, he went forward a bit, but not too bad, so I'm going to back up a step. Go boy. Give him a break, and then ask him again. Okay. So in a minute, we're going to go to the gate, and I'm just going to see if I can get him to open the gate, because it's good for horses to learn how to do that. But we'll give him a break first. So the main things with him is, because he was step pacey and he was tense, confused, he's a young horse and he was a little bit bratty, is I always move him around first before I ride him. After he hasn't been ridden for a day, I have to do it not very long. I do it for 10 minutes, but I move him, I canter him, and he's trotting or he's pacing or gaiting a fair amount. And I just let him work it all out. He gets a little spunky at times, and when he does, I don't run him faster, because you got to analyze the horse, because each horse is different. With him, I shut him down. When he starts leaping through the air, I just yank on him and stop him. And I make him just stand there for a couple of seconds, like, calm yourself down. It's like your friend who's crazy, and they're screaming, and you walk up and you smack him in the face. You're like, cut it out. Yeah? So that's what I do with him, is I just, hey, cut it out. And then we go back to work. So in time, he won't do as much as that crazy stuff. But on the first day, he has a lot of energy. And then each day, like today, I think I lunged him for 5 minutes instead of 10, and not very long, because he was very quiet. And I jumped around and did some stuff to see if it had upset him, and he didn't care at all. So I knew he was good to go. So you have to judge your horse. But in the beginning, when you don't know them, it's always good to move them around first. Exercise them. Many of these horses are bad at round pending and bad at lunging because nobody's ever done it. So they don't understand. So you might have to keep them on a short rope and just teach them how to walk. Watch my video on lunging with Betty and teach them how to walk first. And then over time you'll be able to get them further and further away from you, and they won't have as much anxiety. But most of the time they just don't understand it, and that's why they're running so much. All right. Now we're going to go over to the gate and practice the gate and see how he does. This also makes going towards his stall not a good thing, because I'm going to go in and out of the gate. So when you get to the gate, you want to make sure they line up and stay there well. I'm going to pull the gate in towards me. No, you're not pushing it. So I think he knows how to do gates because he pushed it, but I'm not going to let him push it. Now I want to keep him right next to the gate. Going to do a little side pass here and make him pause, because horses are all about rushing things. So if you let them push or you let them rush through it, that's what they'll do. So you break it down in steps, teach them, and then always rest by the gate. And remember, I have a big playlist on opening and closing gates. So that was quite good. Now we're going to do our turn on the forehand. He's going to try and push the gate. Okay. So I like to make sure the horses can bring the gates in towards them and away, because you just never know which way the gate's going to go. So I'm going to press with my right leg, now my left leg. Now I'm going to get him going forward and stand right by the gate. So he knows how to do gates. I can already tell, because I wouldn't be able to do this with one hand if he didn't. Now he overturned there, so again, I'm not going to rest, so we're next to the gate. So always rest next to the gate, and that's how you get your horse to want to stand at the gate and not do anything. Now I'm going to do another turn on the forehand. So you can practice lots of things. Now I'm just doing it 2 ways each direction, in and out, and then we're done. I'm not going to do it 1,000 times. So I'm looking towards his stall, pushing the gate. No, see, he pushed it. He's like, let me help you, Gay. And I go, you got to be careful with that, because they might push it the wrong way, especially if they're freaked out, and try to charge the gate, and they can hurt their neck. Now again, it might look like he's doing it pretty well. He is, but he does need my help, but I'm able to help him and make it look easier. That's what trainers should do. Okay. So now we're going to push the gate away. I just put my stick in the opposite hand to help control their shoulders. So that turn on the haunches helps you to push their shoulders over towards the gate. Then I will lean back. Now I push over with my left leg. So he does gates very well. Now again, the trainer who trained him might have done that, or it might have been the owner. So whoever did it, congratulations, you did a very nice job. And I think he's doing really well. He's going to be a nice horse, and hopefully next week we'll start the saddle gate, and you can watch his progress with that. I hope that helps all of you. Remember to like and subscribe. I'm going to loosen his girth here to make this pleasant. But remember, like and subscribe. All of that helps. And put your notifications on so it can tell you when there's new videos. And I'll keep the videos coming.